FileMaker.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. Hope you're having a lovely start to your August. I guess we technically started August at the end of last week, but it was such a crazy July that I kind of ripped it in with the rest of the July. So we are having a really awesome week this week. We managed to get Charles Delfs from the founder of FM BetterForms, which will be really awesome. It's a way to make web apps with FileMaker, which I don't know in detail what that means, but it sounds really cool, and it sounds like taking something that's very complicated and making it much more low code and approachable, which is the entire point of the FileMaker platform in a lot of ways. So I'm very excited for this week. We got a lot to cover. Real quick, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to go pick up here and shenanigan yourself one of our training subscriptions. We're a big channel focused on essentially helping FileMaker developers become better developers. But if you would like to cover very specific topics that we're not covering, or if you find that our conversational format does not work for you, you might find these videos be more use. Real quick, I'm going to bring up BetterForms. Okay, now it's mad at me. That's what I get. You know what? I probably should hand this over to you, Charles, and let you walk
Sure.
us through the introduction. So, introduce who you are, introduce what your company is about, introduce what you're doing. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. So happy afternoon. And
Yes.
if I stutter or if I hesitate a little bit, I'm a little bit jet lagged. I was in Japan all last week, and I spent my whole vacation in Japan dealing with the same jet lag, and then it finally went away, and now it's starting all over again. So it's been pretty brutal.
I'm
So
sorry, I
yeah,
can't imagine the lag on that. Well, how many hours are you behind or ahead?
it's exactly 13.
Whew! You're in
Yeah.
a totally different day. I am
Well,
sorry.
it's funny. I went with my son, and when you come back, you have to sort of
Hmm.
flip one way or another. When you're 3 hours, it's easy. But when you're 12 hours, you kind of flip one way or the other. And I flipped the wrong way and he's adjusted. I'm not. So all good.
Oh no. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, I
So
hopefully you'll feel a
today,
little bit better by tomorrow. Anyway, so what's today?
mhm. So today I want to talk about web applications and basically getting your FileMaker data to your audience, to your users. That's usually typically involves either your customers or your customers' customers, which is a lot of the case,
Hmm.
and by adding a lot of extra value. And you had mentioned that you hadn't really talked too much about web apps in the past on the show.
No, not really at all, to be honest with you. People are interested, of course, in having their information available on the web, but I don't actually even really know what a web app is. So what
All
is it?
right, super. Well, let me share my screen and we'll start off and we'll share some examples. We'll spend most of today, hopefully, just talking about the sort of concepts and things like that. And then over the course of the week, we'll do some building out. Well, what a web application is it's a little bit different than a website, right? So right now we're looking at, I should be sharing my screen here.
Hmm.
You can see this is an actual website. An app is a little bit different because it has some functionality. It has a little bit of agency in the sense that it can maybe access your data. You can read some of your data. Um, you can inform your clients or your customers about some intricate process or something that's happening in your system. Um, Typically, FileMaker users don't really think, or FileMaker developers, let me say that, aren't always really thinking about the end user or the customer's customer. So, for example, if you're a consulting developer, your customer is let's say, I created a fictitious company called Busy Corp. Your company is Busy Corp, and you do, some modifications to their database. Maybe they started off with something like FM starting point or whatever, and you go and make these changes. But really, the biggest advantage of FileMaker to them is sure it organizes all their CRM stuff, but they're still communicating with, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s protocols. In other words, they're doing things like emails, telephone answering. Maybe they're sending out some SMSs from their system, possibly. Some types of integrations into other systems. But all of those things end up getting replaced a lot when you have some kind of portal or some kind of mechanism where the end user, that's your customer's customer, can actually access that data. For people who are in-house developers, you're thinking about the users of FileMaker. You're always thinking about what the FileMaker people have to do and what they're trying to do, and you add a button here and you add a layout or a report over there. But then what about your customers, your actual people who are purchasing from you, your products or your services?
Hmm.
So that's really where web portals come in. And let me pull up a couple different ones and pull up some very different ones. I had a reboot just before the before we started here, so I lost all my links, but that's okay.
No, you're
And what
good.
we'll do is we'll pull up some different ones. I'm gonna pull up actually this one's a pretty I'm gonna pull up this one's kind of interesting. So I want to talk about a company. Actually, it's one of my favorite companies, one of the companies we've been working with for a long time. The company's called Floristware, and Floristware creates software for flower shops. And the flower shops customers are, Jennifer and Chad who need to order some flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed to build an app. In this case, it was for actually the app is for the employees, but they wanted to build an app, and their app is for. I'm just going to pull it up here. Their app is for. Just going to pull this up here for delivery agents. So what happens is they got hundreds of flower shops that are running their software, their
Mm-hmm.
point of sale, and their point of sale is a FileMaker application.
Okay.
And it works really good. It's got lots of life in it. It's got lots of experience, I should say, in it, where it's been, they've added these features and those features and all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to add the ability for drivers for the flower shops. They wanted to add the ability for those drivers to do deliveries. But how do you can't really, I mean, FileMaker Go sounds like a perfect solution for this, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
make a nice delivery app. But the problem is, if you're a delivery driver for a flower shop, you're probably not a full-time employee. You're probably semi-retired or retired person, and you deliver in the morning for an hour or two, and that's your day.
Mm-hmm.
So they also probably don't have, they might not have an iPhone. They maybe not the greatest with technology, and you don't also want to have to maintain all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So what this app does, and I'll just show it to you here, is you receive a link through SMS, and I think I should have received one. Just a second. I'm just going to pull up my SMS just to
Mm-hmm.
see if I received that. There we go. Okay. And here, these are just from past tests here. I received this link here, and this
Mm-hmm.
one's a test. This is a test link. So imagine Al, he's a flower shop driver,
Mm-hmm.
and he's at home and he gets the text link. He clicks on the link, and this is the app that it opens. Now this would normally be surfaced on a phone. So let's simulate a phone here for a quick second just so you get an idea
Mm-hmm.
there. So this is what it
Woo!
would normally look like. Okay, so ignore this dev. This is in a development environment, so there's some development tools enabled, but
Mm-hmm.
that normally wouldn't be there. And there's quite a bit of items on here. They can sort by the order. This application is showing it's a single application. Now, this is a little bit tricky for if you're new to development and concepts, but it's a single app that actually serves all of the different flower shops. So basically, it's one app that serves all of these flower
Oh,
shops.
wait, so you don't need a custom FileMaker Go database for any of
No.
the.
Single file. There's a single FileMaker. It's powered by FileMaker. It's a
Mm-hmm.
single file that's sitting in the cloud. The individual shops do a post, a curl request and a post to
Mm-hmm.
this one app. And they say, I'm shop number 457, and here's a delivery list or a trip as it's called. Then the
Okay.
user goes ahead, they add the items onto the trip, and when they're done, they begin their trip. So just to go back to what that step is, this is the loading out of the van.
Mm-hmm.
So they add the test bouquet and the items, and this is just some dummy data in here. And now the van is full, so they begin the trip and they pop the phone on their dashboard. Again, there's no authentication here. I don't know if you noticed, but we didn't log in. The authentication is the fact that we know the driver's phone number. So
So
in
they
this
had the
case, we
link.
didn't. Yeah, exactly. It's a smart link, right? So they didn't need to have any login. The link expires after 1 day, so it doesn't do any good if they were to lose their phone. You don't really risk any information there. So I have two destinations. I have 444 and 555. So I can, if I'm on a mobile device, it'll automatically pull up the directions or the map. and I can actually call the customer as well. All of this data was pushed from their local FileMaker database. Once they've arrived at their location, they pick out the items out of the van. And let me just scroll down. There's quite a few. This is probably, we wouldn't really receive this many items. And now they're at the front door. And they can go ahead and they can, if somebody's home, they can sign. So they've
Hmm.
signed for the item. They can edit a note and they can also take a picture. There's a previous picture. Let me just do this. And let me add a photo here. It's going to ask me, allow, yes, there. This big smile, right? And they've uploaded a picture. They can even take a little video and say, okay, would you like to send a video? Now, what's cool about this is on the other end, all of this information becomes surfaced inside their FileMaker application for each individual store, right? Now, if you have a single store, a single FileMaker database would be the same idea.
This
What
is
the
super
value
cool.
added Yeah, because it's the value that gets added now. So now the shop knows, if Chad's saying, did Karen get her flowers, right? No, we did, we have to be very careful who they deliver the flowers to, just in case it goes to the wrong person. And they said we left the flowers on the front desk, and here's the picture. So
Hmm.
there's another page that shows the picture. Um, or here's a video of her with the bouquet if she feels inclined to take a video from the delivery driver, and then they mark the trip as complete. It's a really simple workflow, but the value added to that flower shop and the competitive advantage is immense, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, I can definitely see this because it's super simple. You can give a link to anyone, they can open up and they immediately understand what they're looking at. Uh, I'm curious, since you say it's one, um, like all of the databases interact with this one thing that sends back the link and information. Is there ever an
Yeah.
issue with sending too much information at once? Like,
No.
okay.
No. One of the things that's really neat, like you don't need to, if you want your mobile devices, and this goes for FileMaker Go, it goes for anything, any two FileMaker databases, anything connecting to or from FileMaker for that matter. Instead of using a FileMaker connection, you can do a post style, like curl request,
Mm-hmm.
um, to that cloud. So you have this cloud sort of sitting up here. This is my I didn't draw this to scale here, and so we have these different. In this case, it's a multi-tenant, so it's a little bit more complex. But we
Mm-hmm.
have shop number one and shop number two, and shop number one posts this information.
Mm-hmm.
And that post happened last for, I don't know, 200 milliseconds, something like that. It's
Yes.
really quick, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
one time. So they can fire up that trip and they can fire up multiple trips, right? All of that data is kept in one database. And then that database sends out to Twilio. It has an integration. And in that case, the user goes and fetches the data. And then on their mobile device, they're fetching that same data back again. That's sort of the way it works. Let me show something that's a little bit simpler for a
Mm-hmm.
single business. And I'm just going to pull this up.
No problem. This is very
And
cool.
this one's kind of interesting here. This is also meant to be on a mobile device. Okay.
Okay.
And what this one is this is a company called Santa Margherita. And you may have heard of them. They're I think, believe they sell wine, vineyard, I think they're a vineyard, actually. I
Mm-hmm.
hope I'm not totally wrong on this. And they want to, I just want to see here. Just want to see if my code is hidden or not. So I'm just going to pull this code off screen for just a second. I'm just going to enter a code
No
in,
problem.
and then I'm going to pull it back on screen as I press enter there. All right. So I just entered this like a super secret code. And what happens is they have a bunch of sales agents. Now, this is kind of a similar sort of scenario, right? But this
Mm-hmm.
one's going out to a little bit different scope. Instead of a direct employee, they're like a sales associate. They're like a consultant of some sort. So from here, I um, all right, I enter my information in five
Mm-hmm.
five five 1212. Let's see if that'll accept that. Oh, there's more stuff in here. Delfs and CEO, and I don't think. Let's see if that one's required. Okay. And what will happen is, same type of an idea. They could receive a text message, but they usually get this through an email.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem statement was these salespeople have to talk about maybe 50 or 200 different products.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really know all the talking points. And, a salesperson, if you don't know the talking points, it might just kind of make some stuff up, or it might be inaccurate, or what
Yeah.
have you. So, in this case, I should be able to, let me just see if I can continue. Hopefully I can continue. I may have to do this from my phone. But let me just pull them. If it is, I'll just do it from my phone quick. So here's what makes this one kind of neat is this is a what's called a PWA or progressive web app. I'm going to actually share my phone here just quick.
Yes, no, because I'd love to see this because it's telling me that you can add the app
And
to your home
I
screen. I'm
will.
like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Is that sharing
It
okay?
is.
Great. Okay. So these actually all of these apps that are on the screen here are all progressive web apps, and we'll talk about those more later on. But you can think of them as a web app that can be installed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go to this Santa Margherita one again here. Let me just load this up. There we go. All right. So I've already have this installed on my phone. So the web app on the desktop asked me to install it on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And on the bottom here, we have brands, regions, varietals, and favorites. So I am going to search for, I will search, actually, let's go to brands, actually. Let's just go to brands. So now this is kind of FileMaker Go-esque,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can do this totally in FileMaker Go.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is you're not maintaining that distribution. You're not maintaining the synchronization or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. You're not using any connections or anything. So this can function standalone. This particular app, I don't think they've designed it to be work offline, but it could work fully offline if you wanted it
Okay,
as well.
that's cool.
So we'll go into Massey here, and then I can see all of these Massey points. And let's go into one of them as a demo sheet, and it'll pull it up in a second here. It should. Hopefully the data is good. Let me try a different one here. Some kind of cell sheet. Here we go. So this is some type of cell sheet PDF that's in the database,
Mm-hmm.
and I can share that at the top. There's a share link over here. I can heart it. There's also I can sort by. I guess there's no audio in this category. Some of the categories have audio. And there we go. So there's audio and there's video. So if I have, for example, this might start playing, and sorry about the music if we don't hear it or do hear it. So,
No, this is cool. This is very
right.
cool.
So
Uh,
now this sales agent has this in their pocket now. That's the
mhm.
takeaway there. Sorry, I think I stopped my share.
No, you're good. You did, but we got the we saw all of it pretty much. So the quick question that I would ask
Mhm.
is, you say that you can use it offline as well. Would that be the advantage of not using WebDirect, for example? Because I think there's ways to get a WebDirect app to show as an app in your phone. So kind of a similar concept.
Yeah, you can get WebDirect. There's some peculiarities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually, you think we don't actually consider WebDirect like a competition in that sense, or
Mm-hmm.
Claris Studio for that matter, for BetterForms, because it really is very different use cases.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I actually defend WebDirect quite a bit. I think it's actually a pretty decent product, believe it or not. I don't think it's terrible. I think I've seen some amazing things that people have built with WebDirect.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, though, about WebDirect is the jankiness of it. For example, I can't use my back button in my browser, for example.
No, you can't do that. Yes.
I can't hit refresh in my app without logging out or without entering everything in. I can't even resize the screen without it acting weird. So there's a lot of little peculiarities that were never really resolved to
Mm-hmm.
polish WebDirect up. As well, is it still confined by how FileMaker sees apps versus how the web sees apps? So let me explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
When you're building something in the web, you're not building, and Pearson, our UX designer, will talk about this more on Thursday, but you're not building something that is a FileMaker. You're not taking a FileMaker database and putting it on the web,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not what you want to do. Let me give you a really quick sort of example, and we'll talk about this in later days. But starting point here. So let me give you an example. So I downloaded last week. I downloaded Starting Point. This is a like a plug, right? I guess.
Hmm.
Um, and I looked at the estimates.
Hmm.
So this screen here, this is great for a user who is using FileMaker daily,
Hmm.
right? But you wouldn't see something like this on the web. It's just way too much information for a casual user,
Hmm.
right? Like whoever's receiving the customer from my Busy Corp company, they're not buying like 99% of the time out of from me. They're dealing with me once a week or twice a week, and they're
Hmm.
dealing with another company, and they don't need to see all of this clutter.
Hmm.
So what I did here is I'm just going to go back here just for a second here. Just give me a sec.
No, you're good.
Is actually do. Let's go here. And what did I call it? Yeah. Okay. So this, I'm going to just do something here quick. Sorry. I got to remember my login. Choo.
It's there you go.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm trying to get my type ahead to work. I had to reboot my computer, so all those little services and things like that aren't
Yes,
running.
they all
Let me
shut
just
off. Yep. No, you're
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. It's Busy Corp Dev, right? Busy Corp Dev. So do there we goes. And so I made this little portal and we'll look at how this works and we'll actually extend. I haven't finished it. I just more or less just hacked a little bit up out of a template out of the box.
Hmm.
But here's my estimates. And if we go over to here, let's compare. I'm going to go to a specific company. I'll go to Delfs Engineering because that's what I'm logged in as. And I go to my estimates and I have two one dead, two active estimates. So I've logged in, and this is what your customer could see.
It only sees the active. That's nice.
Boom. Well, in this particular case, right?
Yes.
But they don't see all the other clutter of the FileMaker
No, they
database.
literally just only see the actual estimates, the amount, and
Right.
whether or not they're active.
So which
That's
one, if you were to surface this in WebDirect and surface this in the web, which one do you think is going to have less support? Right? It's you don't need to give them all of this stuff. You don't have to worry about the security and trying to figure out how to lock it down and the fact that you're giving people access to this but not lucky design over to that one and so on. All right. If I jump over to my estimates here, here's my three actual estimates
hmm.
with my individuals, and we'll actually build this out. And we'll work on building this out a bit more. But I just want to give you an idea of we have an app here. This is very FileMaker. This is very web,
Yes.
right? This feels natural for the web. This feels natural for FileMaker. And the takeaway is that there's less information. A casual user can figure stuff out. They don't have to try to learn. There's no looking for a small little button or a nuance or something that's over here or there's one down here. I'm not sure what that one does. And those kinds of things. They don't have to figure that out, right? Because you've taken the time to simplify and just give them the information that they actually want. Um, and we'll build this out. This is just a template page, but we'll actually connect this up a little bit too. But that would be their example of them seeing that invoice, and maybe we can add a button that says approve or disapprove or whatever, and that would move along to that next stage. So that's really where web apps kind of start to shine.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. We do have two questions from the audience.
Certainly.
Is the database where you're posting to a FileMaker database?
Absolutely. Absolutely we use FileMaker for everything for the backends. So BetterForms was designed to operate with FileMaker databases. It doesn't actually have to. We
Oh.
have some users that can connect to other databases as well, but for the FM part, it's FileMaker.
If I need to add an item to my inventory or a new item, does everyone have to reload the app, or does it update naturally like FileMaker
Yeah,
does?
that's a great question. There's different ways of doing that, but most of the time it's a stateless. So or stateful, I guess you could say. In other words, if I went and changed this quantity in the server, this is not going to live change. Now, you can make that live change, but it's not really necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Very few apps on the web, actual apps, actually change when the database information changes, right? And a good example is almost every shopping cart you go to, open the shopping cart here, go to another tab, and then you either have to refresh it, Sometimes you'll see something like that, or you'll
Hmm.
navigate. So typically, the data that is slow to roll, slow to change,
Hmm.
that data you usually don't need to keep it super live. So in other words, when I go to this home dashboard, it just fetched that data fresh.
Got it. Okay. So you're essentially, if you need certain data live, you would pick it carefully where it's like absolutely necessary and otherwise just let natural refreshes handle it.
Yeah, there are times that you want to do live things. Like this is a little bit more advanced. I'm just going to minimize some stuff so we don't get too much clutter here.
Hmm.
Um, this was a, I think this is forwarded now to a different app here. Still, let me just check. All right. So this is an app that is built in BetterForms for the visionary bar at Claris Engage. And so this is actually a BetterForms app. It looks like a web page, but it's just styled like that. It fetches these sessions, and you can see these sessions here, and it's going to try to scroll to the appropriate time and date,
Hmm.
or the closest one. And from here, I can bookmark the sessions. I can read more information on that particular session. There's no
Hmm.
image available for that one. And I can also read more about, I think Todd was on last week,
He
can read more
was.
about, things like that, right? So this data here doesn't change that often, but it does change. So what happens is the app is kind of optimistic. It says, I'm going to load the last data I have.
Hmm.
I'm going to keep that cached locally.
Hmm.
And then what I'll do is while the user's browsing around, I'll do a fetch, which might take an extra second or so.
Hmm.
Right. And that's the reason why I could jump over to that other tab and all the data is instantly there. It's because it was actually there from the last time.
Got
Uh,
it.
and that's sort of the gist of that. And this is, all the people and so on. But now, so that part is not that it's kind of live, but it's not super live. This one, on the other hand, is. So if I was to do this, copy, new, paste, I'll just show you an example of some live data.
Hmm.
Here's two browser tabs open. And I think, let me just double check. I must be signed in. Okay, I don't know if I can sign in because I think they turned off the signing ability, but let me just try. Let's try with Google.
It's contemplating.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's looks like we did. Okay. So here I added 3 likes, but if you notice, this one just changed to 3,
Yes, that was immediate. Okay,
right?
cool.
And I did, it's not immediate, but it's a quarter of a second. But that's an example of having now, if everybody had their app open, they all would update, right? So BetterForms has things like
Hmm.
messaging and a lot of advanced features that allow developers to do that. One of the main ideas is what we found when we're building these web apps and we're working with developers, is developers are all different levels,
Hmm.
right? We have some developers and they're hardly any scripts and even in the whole database, right? It's
Yes.
just tables and maybe one big wild 6,000 field table, but it works. So it's like
Yes.
you can't really knock it. It's like, yeah, I've been using this for 10 years. Never been a problem, right?
Yep.
You've probably heard zillions of stories like that, and every developer has.
It is the nature of FileMaker. It welcomes that
Yeah.
kind of approach.
And
So,
that's not a bad thing, right?
no,
Like,
absolutely not.
with the purists will say, "Oh, you shouldn't have this," and yeah, you shouldn't. But you should see some of my notes. I'm not like if I was an English major, my all my emails would be like totally bad too. But it's the same kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
I'm the same kind of an idea. So, um, where was I going with this? Yeah. So in this case, we want the data. We want the give the ability for the user or for the developer to be able to do stuff really, really simple. But then you have another developer who's like building all kinds of crazy cool stuff that's like really cutting edge. And they want to have that deeper tool. They want to be able to reach deeper into what we call the stack, the technicals, and take advantage of some modern technologies. So Better Forms is kind of has that flexibility. We can keep things really, really simple, but we can write full JavaScript, full HTML, full CSS, right? If you really wanted to.
Yeah.
We're going over the course of the week. We're going to write a little tiny bit, but probably not hardly any at all. And you'll
Okay.
see.
which is awesome. Like so that's very much in the spirit of FileMaker, where you can have the really simple and the really complicated all in the same package. Uh,
Exactly. I'm
uh,
just noticing here, three, two, one. If I like one of Charles's likes, this is kind of neat. Sorry, go ahead.
uh, we got a quick. Oh, it
Yeah.
automatically updates. Nifty.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool, right? Because it's just the data's getting updated and the UI takes care of the rest of it. So
Okay, so
anyhow, sorry, you're saying.
no, we go. We got two sets of questions. I'm going to tackle this one first. It's on topic before I circle back a bit. Is better forms considered low code, or would you consider it low code?
Yeah, I would. We're so here's the truth is we started off medium and high, if that's a thing, and we pushed towards the lower market. Whereas something like Claris Studio started off super low and then pushed up, trying to
Hmm.
push up. It's harder to push up than to push down, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's generally it's low, it's middle code. With our new editor, it's a lot lower. With the new AI, it's even lower. That pushes things down quite a bit. You do need to know some things, mostly about more about like common sense about UI. Like don't try to replicate your FileMaker layouts exactly verbatim. Instead, try to make things look like the web, and try not to have every piece of information. Like more that's more architectural that you really need to know more about. A little bit of JSON because you're that's how FileMaker is fetching the data. And that's honestly like some people who have, I'm not sure what the audience is, how where they feel that their skill level is in with say something like JSON. But I can tell you that the minute you start using it, I've onboarded personally like hundreds of people, and I check back in with them in within maybe 2 or 3 days, and almost everybody's a JSON expert after a few days of hands-on. Right? You just got to
After
do it, right? It's not a
after they fiddle
language;
with it.
it's just it's a syntax, right? So, excuse me.
Uh,
All right, so that's an example of like a live data app.
hmm.
Um, Again, this one's installable. It's installable as a progressive web app. That means it can be saved to the phone. And if anybody wants to try it, they're welcome to. Let me just see if I can get the mobile app. They can actually. Here, I'll leave this up on the screen, and you can give it a try. You can scan that onto your QR code, and then you can
Whoop.
install it on your phone and see exactly what that experience is like.
Yes, cool. There you go. I'll let people sit there. Which case, we're going to circle back to the WebDirect
Mhm.
conversation because that has sparked a debate in my Twitch chat.
Ooh, debates are good. Bring
They
it.
are. They're fun. Basically, Pavel has been saying, "Hey, I see what the simplified layouts. Can't you do the simplified layouts in WebDirect? We have a WebDirect solution. We've used it in over 40 countries for 3 years. Uh,
Absolutely.
so they don't totally
Abs
aren't totally getting what the distinction that you're drawing is
yeah.
between the
So
two.
you absolutely can. And remember what I was saying is the biggest thing is that you have to think like the web. So you wrote that person's probably already realized that, hey, we don't need to have all of this crazy stuff on the screen. We
Hmm.
need to have less. Less is more for the client.
Hmm.
That I wasn't saying that that's something that WebDirect can't do by any means. It can
Hmm.
obviously display one field or dozens
Hmm.
of fields. What I am saying is with WebDirect is you cannot get certain types of experiences. You can't get this type of experience, animations. You can't get, let me see. You can do some things like this. Let me see if there's one. Or even flowing data sideways. You can't do that. Right? You
The
can I mean you could if you're really creative and use some crazy portal stuff,
I about to say the
but
lament of
like
horizontal portals.
yeah. So, you can't do this. This is responsive. Right? Let me go to sessions here, I think. Just see. Actually, I think Visionary Bar might be better. Visionaries here. This is a good one. Right? So you can see, look, there's one horizontal. It's totally different layout. Picture
Hmm.
on the side. Here's Albert. Picture and the tags and things like that. And I read more here. And then as I drag that wider, like that's a totally different layout. That wasn't done with two different layouts. Like you'd have to sort of pseudo do that in WebDirect.
Yeah, where you
That
do
was done
on
with
window
one
change.
design. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one design, right? And it said, put this picture here when screen is at that size, put the picture there at another size. So those are the types of things that you can't do. And having a responsive interface is a must, right? People are on they're sitting on their couch with their iPads. They're sitting in the, unfortunately at the stoplight with their thumb scrolling. They're doing whatever. They're using their app, whatever, and you need to be able to offer that to them.
Someone also brought up a point about licenses. I assume that this would not eat licenses like WebDirect would.
Correct. BetterForms uses the custom. BetterForms is technically custom web publishing. It's exactly what the custom web publishing interface was built for. And as such, it connects through one of two ways to, here, let me pull up a drawing here. It connects to one of two ways to your figures. Everything got logged out on me here to your database. So let me just zoom in here. Just going to make this a little bit bigger here too. All right. So basically, and this goes with any type of web app architecture for the most part. It'll all follow the same sort of shape. You have your users over here. They're on, whatever devices. That device connects up to one of our data centers. We have data centers on all the continents, and that those data centers connect through either a custom domain, so you can bring your own domain, so portal.mycompany.com, or you can use one of our host domains. We have a number of different, excuse me, a number of different host domains as well, and you usually use a host domain for development. The cloud connects up to either to your FileMaker database. So your data always sits on your data. Nothing is cached or stored in here. It does traverse this server, but nothing else is cached or saved in any fashion. So that meets all the GDPR and all the compliance type things. Connects either through the data API or the XML gateway. And the way we bundle the data as it sends, we just use these as a what they call a transport protocol or a layer. So we're just sending it through that. We're not actually using the data API like you would typically fetch records and do all of that stuff. We're just using it for communication. So it connects up through there to your FileMaker server. It goes through a small proxy file. We call it a helper file, and then that connects up to your business file. There is no real difference in terms of performance, or very little nominal difference between these two. The data API in the latest version of FileMaker has been demonetized. So that means you're not being charged for the data that you use, which is a really good thing from FileMaker. And I think what happened is everybody who has existing web apps probably pushed back a lot, and I think that's made them yield a little bit or think twice on that. So I hope that answers that question.
I think Pavel, we talked back and forth with Pavel. Uh, to be honest, to me, blah, blah, blah. To me, one of the biggest selling points would be that it's not eating WebDirect licenses. Uh,
Yeah.
because he's mentioned that he said even if it's simpler, most of what I see now can be done with WebDirect. Sorry, so it'll be well, you'll have a week to show us the intricacies.
Well, yeah, I'm going to push back on the last one just a little bit. So the things that you can't do from WebDirect, you can't do this on WebDirect. You're going to jump through lots of hoops to be able to do that. And you're going to see some spinny bar thing, and you can't go from here to here and then hit this button or hit refresh. You can't do that on WebDirect. So there's a major difference there. You can't bring in third-party modules and styling libraries. You can't do that in WebDirect either, right? So that means you become limited to the technology stack of FileMaker rather than of the rest of the web. That's the main difference. WebDirect absolutely has a purpose for it, but if you need to build something that's a little bit more polished, it's probably not unless you're putting a lot of effort into it. Like I know one company, I think he's out of Greece, and they got about 6 developers that work on their WebDirect application, and it's beautiful, performant, it works great. But how much time and money has gone into that thing, I can't even imagine, right? But that's the difference. Let's look at maybe what we'll do is I'll stop looking at apps today,
Hmm.
and I think what I want to do is I want to look and I want to show you how things connect,
Mm-hmm.
And then on the because we've got about 20 minutes or so, I think.
Oh yes, sorry, we've gone
The
into the deep discussion about what is it, how is it, how does it compare?
yeah.
So,
So, and then what we'll do, and then by all means, folks, please just jump in with questions. And what I want to do is I want to show you a really, really simple example app so you understand, so you can wrap your head around how things kind of connect. So
mm-hmm.
I'm just going to clean some stuff up here,
No problem.
and we'll just do this and that and that.
Oh, a very speedy question.
That.
Do you intend to
Yes.
use OData at any point or switch to OData?
Yes, but we actually found when we did some preliminary tests that it wasn't as performant for
Really?
certain things. Yeah. When with this particular case, it was using a large amount of data transfer,
Mm-hmm.
and the way we optimize the other two protocols,
Mm-hmm.
um, we take advantage of that. So there's not a huge benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit for us as a company is we add the OData connector in, and then we can also connect BetterForms to other things. So it's still in the short list for features, but and it's partially developed just from an experimental purpose. But it doesn't serve you as an end user any better because we're not using OData to fetch the data. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna search for an app.
Yes.
BetterForms, the editor for BetterForms sits in the cloud here. And sorry, I'm just gonna do something quick here. And my one password even is not even working. There it goes. Okay. Do do. All right. Just give me a second here.
No, you're good.
So most of the editing is done in one of two places. It's done in FileMaker and it's done in the cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a demo FileMaker database. We're going to do some really, really simple thing here. We're going to make a quick event booking app
Mm-hmm.
to book an event. So I'm just going to find my demo company, demo corp, different organization. Oops, sorry. Just realized something. I'm in my dev branch here. That was my bad. That's why I wasn't logged in. All right, demo. Okay, so I have a demo organization or a demo app here that I want to look at, and it's pretty simple. It actually looks like really bare bones, some fields and an apply button for like a job application or something. And I want to edit that. I want to turn this into something like maybe a booking app of some sort. So just a couple things here. First of all, let me make my screen a little bit smaller so you can see everything. BetterForms supports multiple development environments. I'm not sure how many people in the community are using like a development branch and a staging or a production branch. Um, a lot of times, it's FileMaker, so we should have a shirt that just say it's FileMaker, and then all the things that we do semi wrong, right? I live code, I live edit, all right? That kind of thing. I think that would be kind of funny.
That'd be fun.
But one of the bonuses, I'll turn it into a feature, is a benefit is that in FileMaker you can we can work on live database and whatnot easily.
Oh
But
yes.
it's really nice if you do have version control. So BetterForms actually has version control. So I have a version here, it's my master, and I also have one in production. They have separate domains. These can be connected to separate databases if we want, or they can connect to the same database. So that allows me to experiment, make changes, have my testers test something, and then when it's ready, I can deploy it. Deployment's pretty easy. We can also do things like rollback. We can roll back to prior versions. Like here's a bunch of different versions. In this case, I can roll back to 2021 for this particular app.
Oh.
Um, and I can deploy and like for example, this is version 116. And if we wanted to roll back to, I don't know, 117 or roll forward, I should say we can just do something like that and that app just changed. Now, it doesn't change your FileMaker database. You still have to use some type of tool like the data migration tool or one of the other tools for that to manage those versions. But the front end, the website is really easy, piece of cake. So I'm going to go into my development branch here. And I have a few pages. I'm going to use this page here. It's called job application. You can think of pages like layouts in a FileMaker database.
Okay.
One of the things is with the web, you don't like, you probably look at your average FileMaker develop database and you have, I don't know, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 layouts.
Mm-hmm.
Web, you don't have that. You have 5, 10, 15, 50, maybe, the really massive app, maybe 70, something like that. You don't really have as many, what do you call them? Uh, Layouts. And that's because you don't need them anymore. A lot of times we put layouts for development. We put layouts for relationships. We put layouts for editing data versus viewing data. You just do that all in the same in the web. All right. So we're in the BetterForms builder here. And here I can select my various elements. I can do things like drag and drop and move them around. And so it's a visual building editor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what I want to do is I want to maybe fetch some data from my database and maybe just render that. And I think we'll have time to do just that. Over in my database, I have a table called events, and I'll use that one. It's pretty ugly. Um, and they're speaking events, some different talks that I've given over the years. And here they are here. They have like a date, maybe a cost. There's a flag is published. It's either true or zero, one or zero. It's a Boolean. And there's one other thing that's in here as well, and there is a field. I'm just going to open this up a little bit quick, and we'll talk about this more. This is a FileMaker technique, not a BetterForms technique. And this field is called as JSON, and it's just a calculation that represents the record as a JSON object. I'll say that one again. So it's a calculation that when it evaluates, it takes the fields that are in my table, not every field, because I don't need like modification date. Nobody cares about that stuff, right? I only need the really important stuff that I need to surface to the front end. So it grabbed those, primary key, a date. There's some URLs here, a description and a cost, and so on. I've grabbed that and I'm going to use that field because it makes it really easy to build a JSON object. So here's what we're going to do. I didn't make any changes. I want to tell my page, when you first load, I need you to go to the database and fetch this data, right? Because I want to show like some of these events. I want to show them in
Mm-hmm.
a little grid of some sort, and I want to show them. So what I've done here is in my database, I've gone to my servers tab here, and I've added a server. Let me just see. Okay. I don't need to change. All right. I have a server here and I've added my server, my FileMaker server, and I've picked the gateway, what friendly name, and then the address of my FileMaker server. It has to be accessible from the outside. And selected the gateway and I created a connection. So that's the first part of the integration. All right. The second part is I've pasted in some custom functions into this database. And with FileMaker 25, we can actually put them in a folder now, which is kind of handy.
Yes.
And especially when you have a lot. Some people hardly use custom functions, but they're really powerful. If you don't use
Mm-hmm.
them, you should start learning that. Put that on your to-do learn. Um, and I've also pasted in some scripts. So I want to show you what the scripts look like here. Let me just do this for a second. All right. I pasted in a folder. You can ignore this. This is just other stuff here, but this folder here of scripts. And that folder has um, two main sections, what we call common scripts or common hooks. And then we have ones for each page. When you build a FileMaker database, including, I noticed things like FM Starting Point and all these databases, they usually put the scripts into some folders to keep them somewhat organized. This
Mm-hmm.
is buttons, this is layouts, this is invoices, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one called Job Application, which happens to be this page here.
Got it.
So this page you can think of as connected now through the scripts to this folder here.
Okay.
All right. I need to tell my page, if this was FileMaker, I'd do a script trigger called onLayoutLoad.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that. Instead, we have one called on form request, which is when the page is getting first downloaded. So I'm
Okay.
just going to turn that on. Okay, and I'm just going to hit save here. All right. Now, when this page first loads, and I'll just preview it here, when it first loads, it will try to run a script over here, and it's going to run this on form request script. There's not much in here right now. There's some stuff from before, so I'm just going to erase that, and we're just going to code this out really quick. We're only going to add a few lines to fetch data. It's going to be pretty easy. So we're going to do, we want to fetch all our events. So I'm going to do set variable, and I'll call it events. And one of the custom functions is a really neat way, and this is a FileMaker thing, again, not a BetterForms thing, but it's a really neat way of fetching data, and it's called get column as array. And what that'll do is it's doing a SQL query that
Hmm.
it's going to select this as an array, which is my as JSON right here for my events, where this is equivalent of execute SQL, and you may have talked about that, I'm sure, in the past. You don't really need to. I hate writing SQL like with a passion. Um, and GPT is a lot easier now, but you don't have to write anything. This is just basically return this when this equals that. So the where field is going to be the is published, and I want is true. Let's see what that's actually doing. Let me just save that. And let me just open up my data viewer here so you get an idea. This is a really, really handy method. So I do that. We get a bunch of stuff here. So I'm just going to change this. Let me just do this is JSON format elements there. So it looks like only one of them is set to true. If I go to 0, I'll probably get a whole bunch more. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's fetching a nice, beautiful array of all the stuff I want.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me mouse here. Keep that there. And then we just need one more line. We want to pass that to BetterForms, right? We have the data that's going to find all the data. And
Okay.
then the second line is going to be to pass it. BetterForms communicates through a couple globals, and one of them is called BF model.
When
And
you
this is
say
like
it
a,
communicates through globals, are you saying it's looking for specific names in globals?
yeah, yeah, exactly. When this script runs and when it's finished running, BetterForms will look at the result in this global and say, oh, this is the data you want me to put in the web,
Okay. So there,
right?
so you have reserved global names for to grab information.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Copy. And so I'm just going to do JSON set element. If you don't already, and I'll harp on this whenever I can, you learn your keystrokes. You know, if you have this open, you'll never become a great programmer. And I'm going to stand on a box on this one, but look the stuff up, but you can almost anything that's capitals, you can just search for the letters. So Jason said element is JSE, and that's like going to be your most common one. Learn a couple of those, SV for set variable, and it'll be amazing how much better a developer you'll be. And the reason for that is you don't lose your mental context of what you're doing by looking for trying to figure out what you're looking for. I'm going to call these events. I'm going to set them in there, and it's going to be a global variable called events, and it's a JSON array. So this is just going to put that event into a global variable,
Okay.
and that's it. So I've got 2 lines of code here. I'm going to save that. Our page should make sure it looks correct. Yeah. And I'm just going to make sure I got some events that are actually in here. So I'm just going to change some of these because not too many are published. I only have, oh, it looks like I only have a few of them. I must have deleted some of them. That's okay. All right, let's reload our page. We're not going to see the data because we're not rendering it in any way, but I'm going to look into my development tools. And here my events are. So 1, 2,
Ah,
3. So I got my events. There's some other stuff in here from a past
so the
example.
information is hanging out on the page even if you haven't necessarily.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
Exactly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy some of that information so I use it as an example. So I'm going to jump back over to BetterForms here, and I don't really, let's see, I'm going to get rid of this thing here, and I want to put my events there, and so we're almost done. I'm going to use some development data. BetterForms has the ability to add development data into your app.
hmm.
So I'm just going to do this really quick. Just make sure. Oops, got an extra one. There. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give by using this development data, and Better FileMaker has development data too. You know, you can do view, custom, or show sample data.
Hmm.
Same thing in Better Forms. All right, and we're almost done. We're going to do one more step here. I'm going to add an HTML block. I'm not going to write any actual HTML, but I'm just going to add that block in there, right in here. We can actually edit HTML if we wanted to. Um, we have a full HTML editor here. So I can actually go in and make changes. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to open up our AI assistant. And I'm going to say, create a grid of my events in model events. I think that's what I called it, right? Events. Oh, no, let me just double check here. Just a second and save my stuff over here. Just all right then. Model events. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm gonna just do that from here. Create a grid of my events and model.events, something like that. Let's start with that.
Let it contemplate.
Yeah. And I'm using a development branch of our stuff here, card grid, and it's just going to ask me how do I want to surface it, and it's actually putting it down there, but that's okay. Do. Here, let me just do this real quick here. How's our time,
So
Margaret?
we're at 1:58, but okay, if you don't have a meeting to go to, I'm happy to stay over time.
Okay, just maybe 10 minutes, and I won't keep everybody too long. Do 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 do. Let's go. Let's do this again here. It's event cards, I should have said. So it's just going to write out the code for these events. Okay, and let's save that. Oops, let's save that. And save that. I'll jump over to this tab, page will automatically refresh. There's our events so far. Now it's not perfect, so we may want to, these pictures aren't the greatest for these events here, right?
Hmm.
But it is live. So if I, do change this to 0, this is stateful. So refresh this. And now we just have 2 events, right? So we are fetching those events in near real time.
Yes.
Um, the next steps are, so that's how we fetch data.
Hmm.
And the next few steps would be to save data. So we'd want to do something like we'd want to add a button onto here so
Hmm.
we can go back in. Again, we didn't actually write any HTML, but we can if we want. If you feel comfortable and you want to make a little tweak here and there, you absolutely can. You don't have to. You can do everything from here as well, right? Like let's say into these cards, add a register button, right? Something like that. So it's going to go through.
And edit it itself.
There we go. Yeah. And then boom, we just added the registration button,
Okay,
right?
that's really cool. That's insanely cool. We do have questions stacking up.
And it's
Uh,
responsive. Yeah, absolutely.
if all the data is on the web, can the end user see it from the inspector on the browser?
No, because not all the data is on the web. The data you decided to explicitly share, right? And this is a real key for security. This is what determined which data got spread or shared.
Hmm.
Right? So I'm only doing this. I'm explicitly coding out my find. This is I could do, go to layout, perform find, go across the records and things like that. I could do something like that if I wanted as well, what
Hmm.
maybe more people are comfortable with. Um, but only that data is shared, and that allows you to have a very high level of security because you cannot trust anything coming from the browser or anything going to the browser as to being secure. Right? The browser is totally open and totally hackable.
So we have some more confidential data questions I'm going to toss at you.
Hmm.
We have confidential data. Is my data going to the cloud? If yes, can you put better forms on our server instead so the data stays on premise? This would be for internal users only, not for customers or anyone outside our company.
Gotcha. Two parts there. Can I and do I want to? So the first one is can I? Yeah, we do have an enterprise version that runs on your own local cloud. There is an additional licensing cost for that, and there's a maintenance fee that not from us, but there's a maintenance cost that you have to do because you're maintaining another server, right? And it's a little bit more complex. It's a Docker style environment, but no data sits outside of your machine um, at any time while a user is not like accessing it. In other words, the data, if I'm accessing and I'm going to here, this data stays in flight for, I don't know, 10 milliseconds or something like that through the cloud, and that's
Hmm.
gone again. There's no persistence there or anything there.
Okay. Uh, yeah,
So it's
it's very,
generally not necessary.
got it. Um, where was there was a European question. Uh, where was it? Problem for companies in European countries. All of our data has to be in our country.
Yes.
So, do you only have data centers in the US?
No, we have our European data center is located in Paris. It's through AWS. We have a technical doc on that as well, and we can guarantee the traffic doesn't flow outside even of Europe if you need it. Generally speaking, the web traffic can flow all over. Like you could be accessing something from your cell phone, say standing in London, and the data might go, depending on how the company's purchasing their internet data and what it might go across continents. Um, your data always sits in your FileMaker server wherever that resides,
Hmm.
typically on-prem or whatever. And the traffic flows from that data center, sorry, from your FileMaker server to that data center, wherever that would be, to the user. So for European, we're fully GDPR, and in that case, the data is not actually being cached anywhere, and it's being served out of a European server.
Okay, there you go. Uh, we have kind of two questions related to like use cases. Um, would like to see a use scenario where the user can view their data in the FM Pro database and update it, including uploading documents to a container field.
Yeah, so that's a really common thing. Let me show you one last demo. We'll finish
Hmm.
with that.
No, you're good.
Um, so this is an interesting one. This is a company that has software, and the software does building permit applications and the auditing and the checking and everything to do with building construction.
Hmm.
And this is just a demo account or a test account. So if you live in California and you wanted to build a second story on your garage, um, you would log into you create an account, you create a new application. I'm not going to do that in their database, but let me just go a little smaller here. Um, and I have these two applications. So in these two applications, they have this interface and they can scroll through the whole application. There's a little messaging system in here that's like a bang bang type message
Hmm.
and a whole bunch of what do you call it, value lists and
Hmm.
and custom data in here for that particular city.
Hmm.
They have the ability to upload files somewhere in here to do upload files. So you can upload files and you can do it with a number of different ways. You can upload files to your FileMaker server, and that's okay for small numbers of users in the sense of, tens to hundreds. But we have some customers that have 100,000 plus users.
Hmm.
Um, and you're going to bog down your FileMaker server if it's handling, 2 or 3 megabyte files constantly. So what they do for that is they use AWS with S3. We have full documentation on how to do that. And it's really, really easy. It sounds really hard, but it's really easy. And the web app uploads the file to S3 directly and puts just the URL in your FileMaker database.
That's cool. That's very cool. Okay, cool. That's awesome. There you go, Ken. Uh,
Right.
I
Well, I don't want to go too far past I don't know what the norm is, and if everybody wants, I'm flexible myself, but we got all week too, so
we do have all week. I don't want to necessarily keep you over time. People's brains begin. I will generally allow sessions generally go about 30-ish minutes over at max.
okay. Oh, we
Uh,
got time. We
but
got 23 minutes.
but we also have people who need to wrap up at like 2. I do have
Right.
one question myself, which is You said it went and looked for the script. I missed how you connected the script to.
That's a great question. That's a really that's a sharp. Um, so yeah, so how does this page know which script over there? There's a setting over here, and it said right here, job app.
Oh, oh,
So
okay.
that, yeah. So that is that same. So if I put the word chat or invoice or people, that would do the same thing.
Interesting. Does it need the BF in front or not?
It doesn't here. It's when you create these, we'll go through this tomorrow as well.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, when I created these scripts, what we did is we used, sorry, I'm going to open up my helper file here. We have a helper file, and this is a file that's used for helping with integration. And I basically click here, I copy my custom functions, I go over to my FileMaker database, I paste them in. And if I wanted to create a new thing, like let's call it estimates, right? I copy that onto my clipboard, I jump over to FileMaker, my actual business file, and I don't have an estimates in there, so I'm just going to do this and paste. And I've just pasted a set of scripts in there.
Huh. Okay, that's very
So it's
cool.
really easy to extend. And now I just put the word estimates on my FileMaker or BetterForms layout here, and it'll call this one. Oops. It'll call, excuse me, it'll call this one here.
Okay, cool. Okay. I saw that. I was like, wait, how did it know which script to go find? Where was
There's
it
a few
given that
other,
information? Hmm?
yeah, that's kind of a tricky one, right? Because it's like, okay, how's that going to work? There's a few other things that we haven't really sort of talked about, like saving the data, and how that works. And BetterForms has its own sort of like a action language or action steps that we didn't really look at as well. So, for example, when I do I still have a button on here? Let me just grab a button or a button if you're a millennial, because they had all had devices with buttons. I want to put this in here and let's get rid of this here. Okay. So I've got this button right here,
Mm-hmm.
and I want it to do something, right?
Yes.
I want to connect it to something. Well, in FileMaker, here's some buttons on this layout. We have, if I double click one of these buttons, it'll say action. What's the action?
Yes. Yep.
Can it execute a script step or a script? BetterForms is very similar. The button has an action, and here's the action over here.
Oh, cool.
I have to create those actions. So I'm going to go over to our action script editor, and I'll create a new one, and we'll call it let's call it
Okay.
save button, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for now, I'm just going to have it show a toaster alert. Toaster alert's like a little window that pops down. So I can create different things. I could have it run JavaScript. I could have it do things with the clipboard. There's a you can see there's quite a few different actions here. So you can have it do these different things, navigate to different areas, like just like FileMaker, right? Exactly, very similar. Let's connect that button back up now. So now I'm going to select Save Button and save that. And now when I click this, I can see there's my alert. So I just connected those two things. That's as low code as you can sort of make some things,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have to be that way. Um, maybe I want to, this is something I don't think WebDirect does as well, right? It doesn't auto enter, doesn't work,
I don't
right?
think so, but
Yeah.
I don't quote me on that.
Yeah. So that means you're making people type their passwords. Well, maybe not the passwords because you don't need it for WebDirect for that side, but for a lot of stuff, the auto enter is really nice, right? Grammarly, all of these things work with web apps. Um, so now if I wanted this to do something like save this form,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to get rid of this alert. And instead, I'm going to add a hook. A hook is the equivalent of FileMaker's perform script.
Okay.
Okay. But it's not really performing a script. It's sending the data to FileMaker.
Okay.
So that will send the data to FileMaker. It's going to send it over to, go back to here, browse. Oops, sorry, browse. And let's go into script workspace. It's going to run this hook script here. And from here, let's just get something very simple. I want to do like equivalent of show custom dialog in FileMaker, just so when I click the button, it shows the dialog.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't have that's a FileMaker thing, so that won't work on its own, but we have almost exactly the same thing. Another reserved actions, it's called another reserved global, and there's a custom function that generates a modal. So modal there. So BF set action show modal. I don't need a title. The type is going to be a success. It's a little icon. The body will be we have saved your data. Something like that. Themes light and dark. Let's go dark today. And I don't need any special options. So that's the equivalent of FileMaker's show custom dialog. So I've added one script step in here, and we're not saving it yet. We'll do that in just a couple seconds. And then I promise we'll finish with that. And let's jump back over to here. Make sure this is all connected here. And I think we already connected that up to our button. Yes, we did. Save. We're trying a new layout. Our UX designer, Pearson, he's going to talk about probably about this, but he got rid of our save button. We used to have a save button over here,
Oh,
right?
how has that gone
So
over?
yeah, well, I don't know. He said in his tests he didn't it was fine, and then he changed this little save animation. They just added that like 2 days ago. So it's like, oh, okay. All right. I try not to push back against the designer because that's their job, right? If they were, you know, like I'm not the designer and I need him, so it doesn't make any sense. All right, so here we are. So let's hit save, and we have saved your data. So the takeaway here is I didn't really do anything on the front end. I just told it to run a script. FileMaker decided, under whatever business rules, to show this modal. I didn't need any
Interesting.
libraries or anything there.
Okay, that's cool.
So to save the data now, it's like go to layout. I'll just go really fast here. This is, I got one called job applications here. It's just a scratch table, new record, and set variable, or sorry, my bad, set field, and we'll set the first name. And I just want to see what the data is here. Just a second. I just want to make sure. I'm just going to look under the hood here quick. And it's under a key called person. Person, looks like we're grouping the data here. So person dot name first.
Okay.
So I need to grab that from FileMaker. And here, JSON get element out of $BF, same place we put the data model. We want to get a key called person dot name first. Yeah. Okay. And we'll do that for the name last. What else we got on there? Close that. What else we got? And special notes is a key called comments. Okay. You can set the where the data goes for the given field. This is like the mapping of a field, where
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna where the data is gonna sit. Right. So name first, name last, and comments. We don't have the event yet. So comments, I do have one called comments here already. Name last. And
Is it gonna fuss about
probably, I don't know. Well, but which?
oh, about the last being the extra
Oh yeah, that
capitalization?
is that definitely is case sensitive.
There we go. I was
With
remembering the word
JSON.
for a
Thank
second.
you. Okay. We one thing we do need to do though here is we need to commit the record because this is running on the server and it
Hmm.
won't just commit on its own. There's no UI there. So I think we're done. Let's test this. Let me just check. Go to layout, create a new record, set name first. Out right there, some typo. Name last and comments. So we set these three fields: person name, person last, comments. Commit the record and say show the modal.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
so
see
that's
it.
it for that. Let's go to the database here. We'll go to this actual table. Let me delete some of these records in here. So those are all gone. I think I've saved this, so I'll save it again anyway, just in case. And now we should be able to go and fill this out. And I'll be one of those two-parters. I don't really have a last name of Jones, but I just want to show that it's not like
Hmm.
random. And extra salad, and beer. Okay, balance it out. There's a zero-sum game there. So I'm going to hit save. We should, if everything's working properly, we should run that script. create the record here,
Mm-hmm.
and show the dialog. So we have saved your data,
There you
and then you see it
go.
comes in. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
That is very cool. Cool. That's awesome. I think that's a great demo to finish us up with. Uh,
Awesome.
we have a price question, which I'm going to toss to you and then wrap us up, which is, are there monthly costs or cost per user, or is it $3.95 per year? All I would pay for the
No,
citizen developer and
as
my
many,
users to
yeah,
connect.
as many users as you want. We have somebody who has, I don't know what it's at now. It's maybe
Woo!
150,000 users. It's a document archive database, and and they grew quick. Like they did like 40, 50,000 users in the first month or so. So it's like crazy fast, right? And same cost for license. Where we do change the pricing is when it comes to the size of your app and the scope or the use case of your app. So 15 pages, which doesn't sound like 15 layouts, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's less than or it's more than the average business portal. So you're looking at basically $30. What does that work out to? 33 bucks or so
Got it.
a
Okay.
month
There we
for
go.
that.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much, Charles. Seriously, this has been fantastic. Thank you everyone
Awesome.
for coming and asking questions and interacting. And I'm going to wrap us up, and I look forward to see you tomorrow, and we can continue on this conversation. So,
Likewise. Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Bye bye.